Alright, so I finally feel good enough to kind of get back to reading this book called Honey Baby Mine, because I need to get it back to the library. Let's see. Honey Baby Mine, Chapter 2, Walk. 2, Time Talk. Diane, guess what? I got offered a job today. A Hallmark Channel show called Chesapeake Shores. I want to take it, but how am I going to work with a cannula in my nose? How will I know if I'll be strong enough by the time they start shooting? Laura, Mom, this is another reason we're going to get you strong. If we get you walking, we'll get you off that cannula. And if you still need it sometimes, maybe they'll write it in. Diane, I sure hope so. Laura, you're looking very fit today. Diane, oh no. Does that mean you're going to make me walk extra far? Laura, no. We'll do our 15 minutes and then it's up to you how much more we do, okay? Diane, deal. Laura, wait, your shoelace is untied. Diane, you don't need to do that, Laura. I can tie my own shoe. Laura, just let me do it. How many times have you tied my shoes? Diane, smiling, you cute thing. Laura, here's something I've always wondered about. How did your parents feel about you being an actress? Now think about it. Don't answer instantly, because all I've ever gotten from you is, oh my God, they loved it. Knowing them, I just can't believe that. What was the first conversation? Did you sit them down and say, I want to be an actress? And they said, cool. Diane, hardly. They thought it was cute until they realized I wanted to do it for a living. I did my first real non-Christmas pageant play in high school. Laura, what was it? Diane, a one-act called The Grand Cam's Diamond. Laura, what is that? Diane, an English play by Alan Monkhouse about a stolen diamond. It's set in a London apartment. I didn't want to be the young lead, Miss Perkins. I wanted the part of the older woman, Mrs. Perkins. That was a part with a little depth, and I got it as a freshman in high school. I remember being on stage and looking out at the audience and realizing that everybody in that theater, all those people, walk around daily with some kind of mask hiding most of their feelings in life. Sitting there in the dark, they felt, for a moment in time, somehow secure. That mask was lowered. I could feel it. That's why plays and movies are so important to me. Nobody's looking at themselves or their neighbors or judging them. They're watching what's going on right in front of them, just energy flowing toward and around them, and they can relax. Laura, that's lovely, Mom. Diane, while standing on that stage, as I looked out into that audience, I felt like I could reach out and touch every single human being, and that I knew each and every one. It was a mystical experience. When I laughed, they laughed. When I cried, they cried. It was as if I was not one body, but one with all. I still feel that feeling whenever I'm acting, and over time I learned that you can't make a bad play great, but you can make it bearable. And you can make a good play much better, and you can make a great play really appreciated. If you connect to that audience, it's living energy. So when I step on the stage, it feels like an opportunity for healing. It's as if my soul takes over. The personality is not driving the car anymore, the soul is. I'm in the creative flow doing my work, but my parents didn't see all that. They just said, my kid's doing a play, she's good in it. They enjoyed that part, sharing the achievement. Laura, it's hard for me to imagine you doing anything else besides performing. Once they realized how serious you were about being an actress, did your parents support your dreams? Diane, they didn't exactly get me dancing lessons. My mother bought me a hope chest. You know what that is? I think we've got like 3 or 4. Laura, isn't that the chest that you keep things in and then it's given to your husband or something? Diane, sort of. It's for the women to have lots of pretty things stored away and waiting for her wedding. I guess it's your parents' way of saying, sure hope you get married. Laura, vomit. Diane, the chest contains blankets, sheets. Laura, condoms? Diane, no. Lace doilies for your furniture, napkins, linens. Laura, you never gave me that stuff. Maybe that's why my marriage ultimately didn't last. It's your fault. Diane, a hope chest was like a dowry. It was typical of the time in our part of the South. My mother had that darn hope chest right at the foot of my bed as a constant reminder. Yeah, you know, I. That's interesting. That's interesting because we had that going on around here. I didn't have one, but that's a norm. You keep a hope chest at the foot of your bed. Hmm. That's interesting. Laura, yuck. Doesn't it send the message that girls are worthless so they have to come with stuff? Please marry my daughter. I'll give you some nice sheets if you take her off my hands. Diane, I agree with you, but it's tradition. Laura, it's a disgusting tradition. Diane, well, we were a typical middle class family, but one wealthy relative, Aunt Marguerite, who was very politically connected and even held a position in the government, and I was her favorite niece. She wanted me to live with her, but be a debutante in Mobile, Alabama, I think. She made sure I had some pretty little organdy dresses. I guess to help with that goal. Did you know that in 1951 my family put me in a finishing school? Boy, that almost finished me, but Laura, wait, why? Diane, the diction teacher had a worse accent than me. That's funny. You had to pick up a pencil with your lips and roll it with your tongue. What? You had to pick up a pencil with your lips and roll it with your tongue. I wonder if that's an Emily post. Maybe that's how I became a great kisser. Ooh, ooh. With a pencil in my mouth, I had to say, "Hello, how are you?" No wonder I can project. Well, that's interesting. Maybe she used her finishing school skills in her. She had to have in her acting. If I'm on stage in front of 5,000 people, that last row can hear me without my having to yell. But it's a wonder I didn't get lead poisoning. I hated that place so much. I walked around with a book on my head all day, and they took away my organdy dresses and gave me tailored suits. They wanted me to shave off my eyebrows and draw them on. And they gave me that awful bra you had to pump with air. You'd go out to dinner, feel it leaking, have to go into the bathroom, take a straw, and blow up your bust. Oh my god. Oh, Laura, oh my god. Everything about the story is terrifying. A blow up bra? Gross. And you have great boobs. Diane, not big enough ones for the Jane Russell era. I was thin. I had a great body, but small boobs. Those inflatable bras were crazy, though. One girl from our school got on a plane, and the cabin pressure made her blow her bra explode. That's hilarious. Laura, oh my god, that reminds me of when Shelley Winters made me stuff my bras for my first play audition. It was with her for the effect of gamma rays on Man in the Moon marigolds. The title's way too long. While we were doing the audition, she decided the director couldn't see enough of my face because my hair was in the way. So she grabbed the bow attached to my blouse to tie my hair back, not realizing that the string was holding the shirt together. In front of the director, my blouse came off, and there I stood on stage in my bra with tissue pouring out of it. Diane, oh my god in heaven, you poor girl. I remember you're saying that at a young age. After this experience with Shelley, no audition will ever frighten me. Laura, but back to your finishing school. Diane, yes, it was really not a good school, okay? And I quit at 16, walked out without telling my parents, and got a job at a bank in New Orleans. Laura, Mom, you were a baby. Diane, so was one of my favorite saints, Joan of Arc. She left at 16, just like me, and she had a little voice that talked to her, just like me. But that's right, Laura. It was a miracle I didn't encounter more danger. At that age, we'd go down to the Latin Quarter and we'd dance with all the foreign exchange students. I became a great dancer. Tango, mambo, everything. It feels like a long time ago. I'm feeling a little bit winded. Why don't you talk for a minute so I can catch my breath? Remember when Bruce's family, the Blue Book aristocrats, wanted you to be a debutante? You went to New York and were staying with your Aunt Everell? Laura, I love that you can call her my aunt even though she was your best friend. Diane, true, because she was like a sister, and how great that her daughter Belina became your best friend and my godchild. Laura, Dad's family had let you know that the debutante ball was going to be held that week I was in town. Our family was in the social registry, whatever that is. Diane, that's Grace Kelly time. Laura, continues. You offered to get me a beautiful gown, and Diane interrupting again, and a chaperone. I had promised Bruce's mother that I would let you do that. Laura, continuing again, I told you I want to check out the scene first, and so I went to a reception the day before the ball to see what it was all about. In my charcoal gray pantsuit, I walked into a room with a bit too much of the color white. I really felt uncomfortable at the lack of diversity and the lack of authenticity. All the girls were in fluffy party dresses. I didn't disrespect their choices, I just felt no connection to it. A chaperone asked me why I was leaving when she saw me walking out. I said I forgot my pearls. Diane, ha. I remember that you called me that night and said, these are not our people. Laura, yes. Diane, but then you did not come directly home. Laura, no. Some friends and I joined the Model uh, United Nations. It was super cool. I love that experience. Diane, well, I wanted my daughter to use her wings to learn how to fly. Laura, but wait, you still need to tell me how your parents reacted to you wanting to be an actress as a career. You said they were fine with you acting until they realized it wasn't just a hobby. Diane, it was actually pretty bad. This one night, mother was really upset. She had a bad argument with my dad or something. Trying to cheer her up, I said, Mother, it's all right. I'm going to be an actress. When I get famous, I'm going to buy you a beautiful home and make everything okay. She turned on me and said, you stop that talk right now, young lady. You're never going to be an actress. You live here in the South. How in God's name, Diane Ladner, are you going to be an actress? Why, daughter child, you are thinking plumb crazy. You can't go running off to Hollywood or New York or somewhere. This talk about you acting as a career is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear it anymore, and I mean it. And she stormed out. Laura, that's awful. Do you think it's because she was frustrated? She wanted to be an artist herself, and if she couldn't do it, you couldn't do it either? Diane, maybe. Mother was a terrific singer, but she didn't have the gumption to go for it. When people would say to her, "Oh, Mary, Diane's got a great voice," she'd nod, and then she'd start to hum a little. She'd start to hum a little bit, and then before you know it, she was singing in full voice to show what she could do. Whatever the reason why my mama said that about how I'd never be an actress, I was so shocked. Silly me. All that time, really, I just thought she believed in me. So I prayed half the night. I couldn't go to sleep. I lay there looking out my window at the sky, and I cried and prayed to God. You tell me. You don't want me to be an actor? Okay. But I think I'm supposed to, I sobbed. I felt so lost, and I wrote a poem, Time Talk. I still remember it to this day. Let me recite it for you. Oh, time, 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 don't tick to me. You fly like a witch through the night, though it be day. Ere it might bring good fortune when my hope screams yes. I hear the sounds of you daring us, daring our trust. No, no, yes, yes, maybe so. So, I beg you, I plead, wait, 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 and you run on, leaving us alone. In vain I turn round, and there you are, laughing, or are you crying? You envelop, whispering in my brain while one screams, stay. Please stay back. Do not follow us, for we are not sure. We are filled with fear. Come one, come all to the 21st century game. Uncertainty and doubt wrestle with the remote-controlled soul in her match against the world. We cannot afford the price of a ticket. Faith is to be the referee for refreshments unique indeed, a sip of water knowing a sweat. Many of us no longer know her taste in our mechanized vacuums. We are not sure. I am not sure of these, I ask. Let my heart love and be worthy of that love. Let my hate be consumed to purify and protect that love without benefit of destruction. Let me leave this earth having done one thing, to make an as of yet unborn child a better human being. I ask for a drop of wisdom, then to shed the tear of understanding, a sigh of that high-priced commodity, peace. Give me but a laugh, a moment to smile, a true smile, and I will ride with you. But first, my God, Mom, that poem is incredible. From Laura. And your 16-year-old self wrote that? You were really crying out to be an artist. Diane. Yeah, but wait, here's the thing. The next morning was Sunday. After praying all night for clarity, I went to church. Our little church never had guest speakers. I mean, never. But that morning they did. And guess what his sermon was about? The gifts God gives us and what we do with them. That guest speaker said, "Everybody has a different destiny. Some of you will stay where you are in life. Some of you may have to travel miles and miles away to complete your test. If you have a calling, you must answer it. It's God's will. If a man has 7 gifts, he should use 7 gifts. If he has 1, he should use 1. If you have to leave your mother, father, hometown to use that gift, you have to. It's what God wants for you, or he would not have given you that gift." Laura: "No." Diane: "I swear to God, Laura, I thought, God, you have answered my prayers. I didn't know how I was going to do anything, where I was going to go. But I figured that if he could answer my prayers that fast, then I didn't have to worry about it. I could be true to myself, put one foot in front of the other, listen and go forward, and he would surely show me the way. And indeed he did. Never said it would be easy, and it was not." Laura: "And you didn't know any actors?" Diane: "I didn't know anybody who did anything creative." Laura: "So at 16 years old, you were in New Orleans?" Diane: "Yes. And eventually, by a twist of fate, involving someone from out of town seeing a play I was in, I ended up getting an audition with John Carradine to step into the role of Pearl in Tobacco Road out in San Francisco. It was like," Laura: "the hand of God. You told me that part of the story before." Diane: "Well, it was. That's how I left the South. I was given a train ticket to California. So I was 16, $25 in my pocket on the Sunset Limited. It was my first trip out west on a train. There was only me and one other person in my car. The other person turned out to be Vice President Richard Nixon's mother." Oh my God. Oh my God. When she said goodbye, she said, "Be careful. People aren't as friendly out here as they are in the South, Diane." She also told me to visit her, and I said to her, "I'm going to be an actress. I'll visit you when I'm a big star." Oh, this is going to come back later. Oh my God. And there's an insert of her at 17, and she's so pretty. Laura: "Your parents let you do the play in California?" Diane: "They figured I'd have a quick little adventure and I'd come back home, but after that I went to New York, and from then on I was working all the time, and so there was nothing they could say about it. But by the time I was 17, I was doing Orpheus Descending, Tennessee Williams' modern retelling of the Orpheus myth, at a little theater in New York. We were told if we got the reviews, we could take it to off-Broadway, but the reviews didn't come. The actors were all distraught. How could we get a good review if the reviewers didn't come? I thought, why mess around? Let's start at the top. I called up the New York Times. Don't ask me how I got an editor on the phone, but I did. He said, 'Honey, we don't review equity library theater plays.' Like it was scum." I said, "What are you talking about? I'm an actress. What does it matter where I'm acting? If I'm an actress, I'm an actress. The only thing I have for all this work is a piece of paper that could be your review. Without it, it's all in vain. You've got to review it." I started sobbing, and he sent a reviewer. Laura: "And didn't Tennessee Williams himself come to see it?" Diane: "Yes, he sure did. I hadn't met him before, but I called and invited him. I said, as my cousin, he had to show up." Oh my God, that's amazing. Laura: I know you always say we're related, but how is that exactly?" Oh, that's cool. Oh, I had to blow my nose. This is amazing. Go, Diane. Shit. I gotta take a break for a second. This is interesting. And Diane Ladd and Laura Dern are related to Tennessee Williams, maybe? Interesting. Drink break. All right. Diane, we're not close cousins, but we're cousins. His full name is Thomas Lanier Williams III. Our branch of the family changed Lanier to Ladner. And then when I got to Hollywood, I was told to shorten it to Ladd. Wow. Tennessee went by Tom. His sister was named Rose, like me. His sister Rose, I think she had a lobotomy. Yeah. Laura: "It's confusing when people go by their middle names like you do." Diane: "It's very common in the South. Anyway, as people know, the character of Laura Wingfield in The Glass Menagerie was based on Tom's sister. When she when she was young, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and their parents had a lobotomy performed on her. It's a horrible tragedy. Tom told me that she liked little crystal animals and she liked to smoke, so he wrote a whole play about it. When Tom visited Laura, he would bring her Wings cigarettes, and he told me that when his family found out he was gay, they were gonna have a lobotomy done on him too. Oh my god, this poor guy. They put him in an institution when he was about 18. But it so happened that there was a young intern there who was gay, and he left a window open and helped Tom jump through the window and run for his life. Holy shit. Thank God. Or we wouldn't have had some of the best plays in American history. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. How could that not fuck anybody up? Laura, amazing. And Dad was in that show? Diane chuckles. I'm getting there. We got this magnificent review, so now they let us take the play to off-Broadway. That must have been off Broadway before that. Tom took me under his wing then. I was supposed to star in a film he was doing, but the studio wouldn't have me because I was unknown, so they gave the part to Jane Fonda. Laura, you were born to be in Tennessee Williams' plays. Pedro Almodovar even said that at the Golden Globes. He found me while I was walking to the bathroom or whatever, and he said, "You have to take me to meet your mother." So I walked Pedro over to meet you, and he bowed down and kissed your feet. That's cute. Diane, I wish he'd give me a job. I love the kisses, but my God, to work with him. Laura, if anyone should work with Pedro, it's you. You and he would be a dream, but you'd have to speak Spanish. Do you remember he said to you, "You in Wild at Heart were my inspiration"? No one has ever been like that but Tennessee Williams' women. And if you think about his movie Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, there is a kind of spirit of Blanche Dubois. You don't see women like that every day, or like the women in the Almodovar movie High Heels. My God, have you seen High Heels? Diane, that's the only one of his I've missed. Laura, oh mom, you have to see it. It's a hilarious melodrama about a mother and daughter. Diane, directors like that help people see the big picture. Without these artists, we lose the hidden sides of ourselves. Life in those movies is so much more real than what you see in reality TV. Laura, movies are more real than reality when they're by authentic, beautiful filmmakers, whether it's Hal Ashby or Scorsese or Cassavetes, and by honest actors. That's why actors don't usually like to see stage direction in a script. Sits quietly weeping. Diane, how do you know I'm going to be quiet when I'm weeping? Laura, exactly. Even I probably don't know until I'm in the scene. Diane, as actors, we can make a new reality on stage. You know, when I was in my 30s doing a Texas trilogy on Broadway, I played 3 different roles in one night. And one time I gave a lecture to about 500 women at the Kentucky Center. And this woman stood up and said, Ms. Ladd, I have a bone to pick with you. I love your acting, oh yes, but I'm going on 50. In the 3rd act of a Texas trilogy, you play a woman my age, and I think you wear far too much makeup. You make yourself too old. I replied, really? She nodded, and I continued, well, in the 1st act, I play 17. Do you feel I wear too much makeup then? She said, no, not at all. I said, well, in the 1st act, when I'm 17, I don't wear any makeup. I just remember what it's like to be 17, and I became 17, and I become 17. Now, in the 2nd act, I'm sexy 36, so I wear a lot of makeup. Then comes the 3rd act at your age, and guess what, ma'am? I don't wear any makeup. I just remember my pain in life, and pain makes all of us feel and look older. Laura, wow. Diane, it's so funny to me. Because we're actresses, we're always exploring what's hidden about characters. Do you feel there are things you've had to hide from me about yourself? Laura, Well, maybe because you'd been through so much before I was born, I never wanted you to have to worry about me. Diane, my honey, a mama never stops worrying about her baby, but what you're saying is probably the same with parents. We don't want to burden our children. Oh, was that it? We don't want to burden our children with our fear or need for companionship. So we probably hide that too much. Maybe that's why this is such a vulnerable time. I've never wanted to talk to you about my health. You have enough going on, enough of your own problems to solve. Laura, Mom, it breaks my heart that you ever kept how you were feeling for me. Diane, well, we don't know these things until we know. I keep telling my friends, don't wait for the emergency. Don't wait until your loved one is on the other side and you can't reach them. I think everyone should try to ask questions now and try to accept the answers gently. Laura, you're doing great, Mom. How about one more block? Diane, when it comes to walking, I'm not doing great. I'm cold. No more blocks. I'm done. Laura, hearing about my mom having to stand up to her parents to pursue her dreams is making me think about how much my mother taught me to consider my own needs and to push back against authority when it's in opposition to your values. My mom taught me to respect people in charge to a point. If an authority figure made you feel small in any way, all bets were off. In my childhood, I witnessed my mom interacting with people with whom she disagreed, and she usually stayed calm. Faced with an argumentative stranger, she would hold it together. Unfortunately, she would lose her cool with cops and school principals, the worst possible people to lose her composure around. One time in middle school, I worked really hard on a school paper about Inherit the Wind. I was using extremist members of the religious right as a modern day example of fanaticism. The teacher, as it turned out, was a member of that group. He gave me a poor grade and implied that if I took a different point of view, I would get a better one. My mother marched into the school unannounced, right into the principal's office. I was mortified because I was in middle school and wanted to fight my own battles, but she was rightfully outraged that the teacher thought it was okay to try to manipulate my opinion in that way. Another time I was happy for her intervention. When I was about 7 at Catholic school, I was sent home because in one of my classes I had said I believed in reincarnation. I was very proper and very shy, but that did make me mad. It is one of my first memories of being angry. I said, I don't understand. Why would God waste a soul? Why do you show up and have only one experience? It just made sense to me that we would keep trying to figure it out and that a soul would be used again and again for growth. The nun teaching that class, the same one who, by the way, also told me that I was stupid at math, mocked me in front of the whole class and told me I'd committed a sin by believing in past lives, and she sent me home, dumb bitch. My mother went insane. She ran in there, guns blazing. Don't you dare tell my daughter what she has a right to believe and not to believe. You call yourself spiritual? You call yourself Catholic? Would Jesus say that she doesn't have the right to have her own beliefs? That she would be condemned? That's not Christian. She went off. The nun had to apologize to me. It was pretty fantastic. It's amazing. Go, Diane. Go, Diane. So that was chapter 2. Chapter 3 is short. Maybe I can do chapter 3. Chapter 3, Walk. Mary and Preston. Oh, is this her parents? Laura. This is such a pretty park. I have a strong memory of being here as a little child and then being here every day with Ellery and Jaya. Their preschool was a block away. Ben and I would ride them here on bikes to look at the ocean after school. Diane. Why did you raise the kids where you were raised? Laura. This part of LA really feels like home to me. It's where my childhood memories mostly took place until I was 7. It makes me feel close to Grandma. And Dad lived at the beach my whole childhood. The Santa Monica Pier feels a little broken, a little battered, but holds something really nostalgic and tender. And it's not as gentrified as some other parts of LA. The pier, the beaches, the lifeguard stations, all of them are the same as when I was little. The car wash, the diner. If only we still had the drive-in in Mar Vista and the ice skating rink, then everything would be intact. Diane, that's lovely, Laura. I'd like to take a break. Laura, nope, not yet. No way. Do just a little more first. Diane, but look, there's a perfect bench. Laura, no, Mom, come on. We have to walk. That's what the doctor said. We're going to get you off that oxygen soon. We'll have you walking a marathon. Diane, not today we won't, I've had an aversion to walking since the day I missed the school bus and had to walk all the way home from St. Mary's. 10 miles. And even on the usual days, I had to walk a whole mile after riding the bus for 9. That killed my walking desire for life. Laura, are we going to have this argument every single time? The plan is not to sit, Mom. This is a walk. That's what we're going to do. You can sit the whole rest of the day at home if you want to. Diane, I'm so tired today. Let's talk about death. Laura, jeez. You really didn't ease into that, did you? No niceties, just straight to death. Okay, let's do it. She laughs. Diane, my dream is to build a mausoleum that has niches for at least 8 bodies. And I want to have a bell in there with a little opening in case anybody ever gets locked in. They can ring the bell for help. Oh, God, Mom. You think someone's going to get stuck in there? And this is the first I'm hearing about a mausoleum? You wouldn't want to just be buried in nature, cremated, your ashes scattered on the ocean? Diane, no way. She laughs. I like this body. What if I want it back in the resurrection? Laura, I think at that point, God would probably give you a lot of options. Can I ask you something hard? Are you afraid of dying? Diane, my daddy used to say you never thought about being born and that happened. You don't have to think about dying now. That'll happen too. Bet your bottom dollar on that. Laura, I know you think about it though. Since I was in my early 20s, you've given me written copies of your will every time you leave for a trip. This is where my jewelry is. This is my lawyer's name, and every time I see it, the will is different. Diane laughs. It's a work in progress. I'm a writer. Laura, well, all I know is I'd hope to have a beautiful death like Grandma Mary's. She was in the hospital for a month before she left us. She had so much time to think about her life. Diane, moments before she died, she said, "Your daddy is waiting for me." I'm sure he was. Even though they'd been divorced for many years by that point, they still loved each other. Laura, losing my grandma, I can't even put the pain into words. When those white doves were released into the air at the funeral, the love and grief I felt was overwhelming. And I found myself weeks, months, and now years later saying something and thinking, I've got to call Grandma and tell her, and then realizing I can't. Diane, I do that too. I want to call her all the time. And I swear I can hear her voice sometimes. It hurts so much being without her, but that's part of being alive. Our hearts are at risk from the moment we come out of the womb. Life is a great opportunity and we need to show gratitude, but life is risk. Loving someone is a risk. Laura, yes, so true. I'm trying to be strong, but I realize I often don't say what I feel because I'm afraid it will hurt you and this is about you and your health, but I have to admit I'm feeling really scared about losing you, Mom. Diane, oh, honey, baby mine. Coughs. Well, I'm not there yet. One of the doctors said he'd give his whole body to have a heart like mine, strong enough to pull a train. My daddy said something that stuck with me always. Diane, don't ever forget, by God, you can do anything you put your mind to as long as it's not going to really hurt somebody else or really hurt you. And when you do that thing, you don't ever give up. He repeated that to me again and again. You don't ever give up. Laura, and so you've told me many times, I think I know where this story is heading, but go ahead. I'm just happy you're not asking to sit down right now. Diane, do you know the first time he said it to me? Laura, yes, but I think you want to tell me again. Let's walk to that rose garden bench now while you tell me. Diane, when I was about 5 years old, after the war, spinal meningitis was going around where we lived in Chickasaw, Alabama, 8 miles from Mobile. And the couple across the road had one son, 17 years old, and he got spinal meningitis. Oh. They took him to the mobile infirmary with beds in the hall, people dying. The doctors actually said to this couple, "Take your son home. I'm sorry, he'll be dead by morning. There's nothing we can do for him." But they couldn't accept that it was all over. They took the son home, and the lady came and pounded on my daddy's door and said, "Mr. Ladner," she was sobbing, "you've got to come help my son. They say there's no hope for him, but you've got to do something. You're a doctor." And my father said, "Ma'am, I work with animals, chickens, dogs, cows, and pigs, not people." She said, I don't care. You're our only hope, the only person nearby who could help my baby. Please come help me. And hearing this, my mama started crying, and finally Daddy said, all right, you go home. I'll find a doctor for your son tonight. Laura. Wow. Diane. She left. My daddy stood in that doorway for a minute, then he turned and he saw me watching. When Daddy got emotional, his chin quivered so he wouldn't cry. He was a good-looking man, and he stood there strong and handsome, his chin quivering, and he said, Diane, you don't ever give up on life as long as you are in life. He walked out that door and searched the county until he found a young doctor who happened to be visiting Chickasaw. He just graduated from Johns Hopkins University. My father brought that young doctor to those people's home across the street. I heard the most horrible screaming all night long, but that young doctor worked on that boy, kept working on his body so it didn't seize up, getting other people to help manipulate that boy's spine. And that boy lived. And from then on, I knew my daddy was right. You don't ever give up on life as long as you are in life. Laura, that's probably why you fought so hard in the hospital. Diane. Yes. And when I was there surrounded by people suffering and moaning, I was reminded that life is precious, something to be enjoyed and to be shared. Thank goodness that you and your beautiful children were there with me. Laura, remember how that room transformed into a magical place where Ellery brought in his guitar? Diane, music and laughter count for a lot. That was so good for him. Even the nurses liked to come in there when he was playing for us. They found our room a place of love and light. Laura, you were so full of love and light that one day that we had to cut you off. Diane, all right, that was a fantastic shot they gave me. What was that fantastic shot they gave me? Laura, it wasn't a shot. It was a morphine drip attached to your button so you could push yourself. And you kept clicking away until you were high as a kite. And one day, when Ellery walked in, you shouted to him, Ellery, I'm on dope. Diane, that's right. Woo! I had some things to say about life that day. He listened with wide eyes and finally said, Nurse, somebody's got to take that button away from my grandmother. Laura, ha. Diane, yes, and that wasn't even the best part. The best was my vision when I had my death experience and left my body. I can't express to you how great the joy I felt was, Laura. It was better than any Snickers bar, Christmas present, Oscar, or orgasm. Nothing can ever compare to the bliss. It felt as if my soul left my body and traveled way beyond. I was standing at the entrance of a very large tunnel that was filled with extremely bright light, and there was two very tall beings standing at the entrance. I said, I'm not going back, but they responded, there are things you've left unfinished. Your family needs you. I think maybe these talks with you may even be part of that unfinished work. Laura, I find that so moving, Mom. So, there's more to this chapter, but my throat is getting dry. This book on Laura challenging her mother's health is challenging my health reading it out loud. That was a very poignant half of the chapter I've just read because I've talked a lot before about having a lot of quit in me, and I've had talks before with my parents about not giving up. And like I said, I do feel like I have a lot of quit in me, resignation in me. And I think it's important to note that in life, that's not really an option. If you're a living organism, your main function is to survive. You have a working body with working parts. And if nothing else is your purpose is to survive. And there are little things along the way that if you're too stubborn enough to learn it the first go around, you keep seeing them pop up, and I think that's one of them. So, as easily as this could be written off as a fluff book, or celebrity memoir, or just a fun piece from the library, it's still important to see something like that. Because I think if people do give up easily, part of learning the lesson and not giving up is kind of seeing how you can make the miracles happen, like whether it's on your own or with somebody else or with a group of people. If you push it, you can make it through. And this is very like common sense low bar stuff I'm talking about here, but not everybody keeps the common sense stuff all the time. Sometimes people have to keep plugging it into you, or you plug it into yourself. I don't know, it's very poignant to read that right now. Because I tend to indulge in the resignation a lot. Maybe that's why, like, the life quality is so poor. I don't know. Something to think about. Like I said, I think I'd read more, but I think I want to stop right now. And that might be the last I read of the book out loud. But I'm glad to read it. Yeah. All right. If anybody listened, thanks for listening. I did want to comment on the thumbnail. The first Diane Ladd thumbnail is from Wild at Heart, where she clearly drew all over her face in lipstick. And I think that's hilarious. I love that she went there. I think if I were in a David Lynch movie and he asked me to do it, I would do it. That'd be hilarious. And then this thumbnail I'm going to put up is from Inland Empire, where she's a shameless talk show host. Still can't find Rambling Rose anywhere. I should give her work a better try. I should rewatch Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. All right. This has been very poignant, and I don't want to sully it anymore. Thanks for listening.